Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today we're going back to the late 1800s to a scary mansion where there was a murder. Now 30 years after that, we're in there as psychics trying to figure out what really happened because the murder was just deemed an accident. See, there's going to be a ghost cooperatively working with us, giving us visions in our dreams to try to convey to us who did it, how they did it, and where they did it. It's a cooperative adventure called Mysterium for 2 to 7 players. This just came out in North America. It's been out worldwide in other areas of the world earlier. It takes about 45 minutes to play. Let me show you how it's played. I'll see you on the other side. At the beginning of the game, you pick your character and or color, and you take the sleeve along with which character you choose. Now here's a 4-player game of Mysterium. 3 of them will be the psychics, which are the yellow, blue, and purple players. You'll see their crystal balls there. And over the course of the game, each of them is going to be trying to get and gather a dream from a ghost. And so each of them are going to try to find a specific person that's specific to them, and then a location, and then finally the murder weapon. Now the ghost will sit behind this humongous yet gorgeous screen that has some awesome artwork and is pretty large. And here it is in reference to the rest of the game pieces. It is quite large and gorgeous. Now as you can see, this is looking at the screen as if you were the ghost, the back side of it, and you'll see that there's different colors here. So we have the purple player, the yellow player, the blue player, and all the other types of players. And at the beginning of the game, we randomly put in cards that matched all the ones that were out on the board. So this is the purple player's character, location, and murder weapon, and so on and so forth for the yellow and the blue. Now there's no black player, and it typically tells you to throw any extra cards that are not specifically tied to them out of the game, but I like to keep them in other players' colors just so I can see what they look like, because I want to be able to reference which ones are actually out on the board as well, but that's what it looks like from the ghost. Now there's 7 rounds in the game, and it's denoted by this clock. We're in round 1. Let me show you how a round works. They're trying to figure out who the true murderer, location, and weapon is by the end of the 7th round. Now also, depending on how many players there are, and whether you want easy, medium, or hard, that's how many cards you'll put out of each character, location, and murder weapon. So in this case, we're playing a 4-player game, so there's 5 cards because we're playing on easy. If you play on medium, you put 6 cards. If you're putting hard, you put 7 cards. So there'd be more cards that are not actually possibly part of the crime. At the beginning of the game, the ghost gets a huge stack of these dream cards, and they will draw 7 of them in their hands. And these will be held secretly in his hand behind the screen. And what he's trying to do is use some of these dreams that have these interesting original artwork on it, and trying to figure out which one can he use to try to help the people figure out which culprit it is. Now to make it just a little easier to show you, I've put everything down, but this wouldn't happen in a real game. Here's my 7 dream cards, here's the 3 culprits. And I look through these and I say, well, which one of these makes the most sense with either one of these? This guy's, an army figure with a sword and some medallions. Here we have sort of a nun with a book. Here we have a chef with some interesting other things around there. And so I look at my cards, I go, which one can I do? And I look at this, I go, this one's got pretzels and donuts and a pot and pan flying in the wind. I'm gonna give this card to the blue player. So I'd say blue. Actually, you don't even say anything because you don't talk. You just hand this player to the blue player. The ghost never talks or makes any gestures or anything over the entire game. So this person would give this card to the blue person. So the blue person gets this card, and all the players, all 3 of them, will look at this and try to help them out as to saying, which one does this mostly go with? And there'll be some discussions going on. And meanwhile, the ghost draws another card to have up to 7 cards here. Now, let's say he has these cards and he doesn't like any of these. In an easy round, once per round, he can put this Raven token and secure it to the top of his shield, and he can discard all these cards and draw 7 new ones. And that's another big difference between easy, medium, and hard. Easy, you can do this once per turn or round. With a medium game, you can do it 3 times per game, and with the hard one, you can only swap your cards out once per game. So here's me with some new cards, but you might notice this card I had in my hand before, you don't have to get rid of all of them. I kept this one and got 6 new ones because I know that next round I'm going to be going to the location for this guy, and all this water kind of looks like a tub and a bathroom, so I'm going to end up using this card for this guy. So I looked a little bit forward, kept that card, got 6 new ones. And I see this guy here has got a sword, and I see this guy in this one, it's a little soldier with a sword. So I'm going to give this to the purple player. And then they will continue to talk along with the other players. I would draw one more card. And then here I might not have, I've already used my thing for the round, and I might not have anything else really good, but maybe I go pipe organ, because you see a pipe organ in church. So I'll give this to the yellow player. And after the last card's given, you flip over the timer, and they have this much time to finish and figure out where they're going. So let's say, the yellow player said, let's see, the yellow player said this. Let's say that the blue player said this, and let's say the purple player said this. Now, I would then look at my thing and say, yellow, you're correct. And so good, yellow would take this card. She got the pipe organ thing, and she would put her person right into the shield of her color and use it towards the end of the game. So she would stick this in here and put it in front of her. Blue, you're correct. So the blue player would also take his chef hat and put it right in the shield and keep this card. Now these guys move up to the next round like this, and here we say, yellow, you're incorrect. Now the people that were correct give their dream cards back to be discarded. The one that was incorrect, they did not get this clue. They keep it, because in the future rounds, they're gonna know that this is sort of a clue for them. Now, if I wanted to give more than one card to somebody, I can do it, but I have to give them it at the same time. And that's pretty much how a round works. So now we know in the next round, essentially we would start the next round by moving this up to here, and we would start. Now the blue and purple player are working on location, the yellow player is still working on the person, and that's how the rounds would go. Now, when people are voting for things, if, for example, they talk together, but let's say the blue player was really sure it was this, but hey, the yellow player really didn't think so. They thought it was this. The yellow player they get these tokens at the beginning of the game. They're called clairvoyancy tokens, and they have either a check or an X. Now, this is only with 4 more players, and you get a certain amount depending on how many players are playing for. And let's say the yellow player, no, I don't think this is right, but hey, I think this is right. And maybe the purple player says, yeah, I also think this is wrong. You just can't bet on your own, and you can't bet more than one on any one. But let's say it looked like this at the end of the round. If indeed this was wrong, the yellow player and the purple player bet right. They would get to move 1 up on this clairvoyancy track. I'll tell you what this does later, but that's how the betting works. For everyone you get right, you move up on this track. Now at the end of the at the beginning of the 4th round, you get all your tokens back that you've used, those betting tokens, for the rest of the game. That's pretty much how the game works. You go through the person, then the location, and then the weapon. If all 3 players, or all psychics, have gotten past this and into the final culprit's room before the end of the 7th round, we go to the final guess. So let's say all players got here before the end of the 7th round. Now when they get here, however many rounds are left, they also get to go up that far in the betting track. Now what does this betting track mean? Well, we're trying to find the culprit. Now each of these players were given a dream. And if you remember, we have the players here. Each of them has a person, location, and weapon, and those are the dreams that they got. Now, I'm going to pick which one of these is the true culprit and trying to get them all to guess on that single one. So what happens is I'm going to throw 1 card out, and anyone that's between here and here on the betting track, which is blue, they're going to get to see 1 card. And then only them will silently and secretly say which one they think it is. So let's say I just put this card out there to see. It's green, it's got paper, it's got a chair. And maybe this person, so what they do is they see a 1, 2, and a 3. The blue player is going to take his shield, and from his betting tokens, he's going to put the one that he thinks in his sleeve there. And he's going to pass this to the ghost and discard the others without anybody seeing. Now, the purple player is going to get to see 2 cards because they made it past that. So they'll see a 2nd card. And they see this little rat. Now, they don't know which one is for which. All these cards are going to be for either this set, or this set. But they don't know which card is for the person, which one's for the place, and which one's for the thing. And so they see this, and then they decide to vote. They'll do the same thing. The purple player will put their vote in here and give it to the ghost. And then finally, the yellow player will get to see all 3 cards. Anybody over that will see the 3rd card. And the player puts a candle out. So now we see this and we say, okay. So then that player puts their vote in here. Now once everyone's voted, the ghost will take each of these sleeves, take out the vote, and put them out in front of everybody. So purple voted for 2, yellow voted for 1, and blue voted for 2. If there's a majority, this is the one that people have selected. If there's a tie, the player who got here first, the fastest, gets to break the tie. Now, since this is the one, the players would flip this over and see if they are right or wrong. The Ghost had put this there secretly, and in fact, they've won the game because they figured it out. Now, an interesting note here, yellow actually got 3 cards, and the third card was candles. And I was trying to say, well, the rat was for this. It's like a lab rat. It's like a bunch of, they're taking injections. The chair is the chair. But the candles, I thought, well, candles in church, I didn't have a whole good card to go with. Candles go with the lady with the candles at church. But the person without a third card saw candles here. And they thought, maybe that's what he's talking about. So sometimes seeing more cards isn't all that great, but that's essentially how you play the game, and you either win or lose by that wrong. And no matter how much time you have left, you only get one chance at the final round. Now, I've already reviewed Mysterium, the version from Portal Games. This was from the European edition from Poland last year. And let me just say, if you haven't played Mysterium, you have no idea what it is, I'm going to talk to you first. This game is amazing. It's one of my favorite cooperative games. In fact, just early this week, I meant this my #1 game to bring to a Halloween party, because in this game, you're trying to get these, you're trying to figure out the murder, but the seance happens on Halloween. You have 7 hours to do it. Now, the game itself is quite interesting. I mean, you've got this ghost who can't talk, right? And that guy is giving clues to everybody else, and everyone's talking about it. And the magic in this game is how amazingly that these cards that have interesting artwork on them are sort of like some of the cards that are down there, and everyone sees different things in the cards, and their ideas come out. No, that doesn't look like that. It looks like this. And you hear this, and that's where the magic of this game happens, and it's amazing. Now, the game itself, it's easy. If you're going to be the ghost, you should be the most experienced player to start off. And so, it's easy to bring new people into the hobby. I've played this with a lot of my family and people that don't typically play a lot of games, and it's gone over huge every time. Now, for people that play a lot of games, this is an awesome cooperative game because you never have that sometimes called quarterbacking, where everyone's telling everyone else what to do, especially in this version, which brings you to the new things of this version. So it has this nice, awesome big stand to look at, where the shield behind the ghost there, and it's awesome for the ghost because before that you just had to look at cards, and without having your own card table or card organizer, which is what I used, it was almost impossible to play the old game. That's awesome. The only downside to that is when you're looking at those things, they had to shrink the cards to make everything fit, even in that large shield. So a lot of the cards are a little smaller. You got to get a little closer to see some of the details, where the older cards from older versions are a little bit bigger. Now, the material the cards were made on also is sort of a rougher material. They're hard to handle, they're hard to sort of shuffle around, and I think that material made the cards a little bit darker. And when you're sitting behind the shield, the only problem I found is that the lighting. Now, because the shield's there, it usually blocks the lighting. You really need to have a light behind you to see that, or else you'll find yourself tipping that thing forward, not so people can see it, but just to get some light on there so you can really see the details of these smaller cards. But all in all, those negative tweaks, they're definitely worth it because having the shield is so nice. Now, the game itself, one other huge difference here is those clairvoyancy tokens and betting, where people get to say, you know what, I really think it's that. And the person whose turn it is, or whose crystal ball color it is, gets to choose. They get to decide. But you might not believe in them, so you can vote against them. It sounds like a cool idea. When I first read the rules late one night, I thought, oh, this is going to be so cool. Turns out I don't like the voting for a few reasons. Number one is at the end, you're going to see different people are going to see different amount of cards. And at the end, the voting is quite different too, because you're all working cooperatively, talking the whole game, and then you come down to this just secretive voting one-on-one. And I actually liked that aspect of it. I didn't think I would, but I did, because it actually added a lot more tension there while people are trying to figure out what they would say. The problem is that the person who sees one card is not necessarily at a disadvantage to the people that see more cards. In fact, I would be willing to reckon that the people that see one card actually have it better than the people that see more cards. We've had multiple games where all the people that saw one card voted for the correct thing, and everyone who saw more did not, because you're going to throw down your best card first, the one that has the greatest match, and they jump on it. But then the other people get more cards, and they might not be as good, and it's more confusing. So I don't like the betting aspect, because you're supposed to be betting to get an advantage, where the advantage actually isn't really an advantage in the end. So I don't like that aspect of it. So that's how I feel about that. So overall, though, I might be saying a lot of negative things here, and it's only because I've played the older version and new version. If you haven't played this before, don't take these negative things of saying, this isn't a good game. This is an awesome game. I am nitpicking, and for the people that know the game well and want to know which version to buy, I'm breaking that down for them. With all that being said, if I were to buy one of those two versions now, I still would buy this one, because you can easily take the betting out. You've got that awesome shield. You've got some of the newer artwork. Overall, it's a better produced game, and it's a lot easier and a lot more accessible, and I think even less expensive than the other one because you had to buy it from Europe. So overall, awesome game. Take the betting out. You might, try it, but it also adds a layer of difficulty and a layer of, that it's a little bit harder for newer people to get into it, which I think part of the thing of this game is it's easy to bring new people in, but yet it has some good depth. That adds another layer of sort of clunkiness to it that in the end didn't work out for me. So, if you're interested in playing the other rules, the rules are available on Board Game Geek for both the Portal version and the Ukraine version. For doing the end game without the betting, I would recommend on that. But overall, awesome game. Play it the way you find it to be fun, and I bet you will find this game fun. Now, because I'm keeping this game in my library, let's induct it properly with a saxophone serenade.